You need them. Let's go through the stories inside the papers. Lettice Bromovsky joins me now to do that, a political commentator with Young Voices UK. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, Rosie. Thanks for having me on.
Yesterday, of course, there was this devastating development in the search for Nicola Bulley. Of course, this body not yet identified. The papers have got lots of questions about the search for her and the conduct of the police. And one of the pieces in the Times says that the river hypothesis was vindicated, but police face serious questions. How do you feel that, the police have had a part to play in this, but so too have the media?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the poor family have had to go through this story of their wife or their mother going missing, and it's turned into this massive national news story. I think, yes, it is right that the police, they were vindicated in the fact that their theory around her going into the river was correct. But the fact that this body, supposedly Nicola, has been found only about half a mile from where her phone and everything was found on that bench, shows that if the police had combed through this area multiple times, as they said, they had not found this body yet at all. And it was, in fact, found by walkers in the end. It opens up a whole host of questions around how has it been missed? It's been 3 weeks since Nicola went missing. And really, your heart goes out to this family who's been kept waiting for all of this time. And there was also other issues that have been going on around the police with the fact that they revealed that very personal information about Nicola having alcohol issues and her issues surrounding menopause, and the very fact that didn't really need to be in the public domain. So even if this story in this case does come to a close and, it might not be the end that everyone wanted, I think that this issue will probably be rolling on for many more months with the police and their ongoing handling of situations.
I think that the defence that the police might give on the disclosure of that personal information about Nicola Bulley was that they were trying to say, we don't think there's a dangerous person out and it's not unsafe for you to go walking.
Yes, and they'll have their reasons for that. However, at the end of the day, it wasn't necessary for that to be in the public domain. It felt very much even our Prime Minister and the Home Secretary came out and have voiced their concerns over why some of these details ended up being revealed. And was it the police just trying to make themselves and show that they were doing well in this case, rather than thinking of the family and the victim in mind?
Many, many questions to be answered. As you said, a totally devastating situation. As there are developments, we'll bring them to you here. Let's turn to politics. And Keir Starmer has told Labour not to assume that voters will automatically return to the party from the SNP after Nicola Sturgeon's departure. Who do you think might have made that assumption?
Well, I'm not sure exactly, but what I would say is that it's definitely a step in the right direction. To make any assumptions that people will automatically flock to you after the loss of a leader would be an error. However, it is very clear at the moment that people aren't seeing an automatic front runner come out from behind Nicola Sturgeon, and that's going to leave a vacuum within Scottish politics that Labour will be very keen to fill immediately. Obviously, we're looking ahead to the future now, and we're looking at general elections coming up. And if Starmer really does want to take Rishi's place, become the next Prime Minister, he's going to have to win many seats from across the board. And that will include winning back many of those seats within Scotland. So this will really open up an opportunity for Labour that they're going to be very keen to fill.
So how much space do you think there is for them to say, look, we can provide some sort of stability, because they can capitalise not only on this sort of insecurity now with the SNP, but a growing discontent or perceived incompetence of the Conservatives?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they're capitalising on that really not just in Scotland, but particularly on the discontent with the Conservatives absolutely everywhere. We're seeing a lot of divisions within the Conservative Party. No matter how many times they try and rectify situations, we're seeing issues within them, particularly as you were talking about with your commentator just before, with over Northern Ireland, with people like Boris Johnson coming out and throwing in his 2 cents. We had Liz Truss only a few weeks ago give out her 4,000-word essay on why her plan was the right one. And it's sort of an issue that Rishi is having to deal with quite a lot, is that he's in a unique situation, let's say, of he's got many more ex-prime ministers on his backbenches than perhaps others have in recent years, because we've gone through so many. And that's a situation that Labour's going to be looking to capitalise on. And they are a little bit already. When we look at Northern Ireland Protocol, because that is in the news at the moment, Keir Starmer said in a speech a few weeks ago that he would be willing to help Rishi push the bill through, or a deal through if it went through. He can rely on Labour voters. So he's really pressing on those divisions to put more pressure on Rishi to see if, he will put a deal through at the expense of his own MPs.
Yes, it's front page of the Times this morning. Sunak ready to defy DUP over the Brexit trade deal, if you want to have a read of that. Inside the Telegraph, page 10. Now, I wonder if you've been a victim of this, listening at home, where your road that was previously quiet, Waze or Google Maps discovers it, and suddenly your road turns into a rat race because everyone's bombing down there because that's the quicker way to go. Tell us what's happened, because these sat-nav firms are sort of teamed up to make sure that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think this is a particularly interesting story. I'm sure we've all sort of been there when we've been using our sat navs going somewhere, and it's just taking you the most bizarre route down all these different ways. So, as you say, these big companies such as TomTom are all coming together to change the algorithm. So essentially, it is continuing. It'll go back really to funneling cars down the main routes rather than taking them through all these different villages, past more people's houses, all of these different things, back to the main roads to try and get traffic directed back there.
Yes, it's definitely going to be good news if you live on one of those quieter residential roads and you've suddenly found a massive increase in traffic because people are deciding, oh, look, my sat-nav's taking me down here. I can go the back streets and maybe I don't have to sort of crawl through the traffic lights, but that's a total nightmare for people who live there. So that's some good news. Really bad news for the poor person who is in Miami at this very nice art fair. And, you see those signs in antique shops or whatever, don't touch. If you went to an art exhibition, Lettice, would you ever touch anything that was on display?
I would never touch anything. I read this story this morning and I just thought, oh gosh, that's everyone's sort of worst nightmare. This $42,000 balloon dog by the artist Jeff Koons has been knocked over by a lady in Miami.
And it wasn't even really, I mean, it clearly was an accident, but it wasn't like she brushed past it. She tapped it.
Exactly. It's not even like she could say, it was a bit of a wobbly floor or wobbly plinth or whatever it was. There's video footage of this lady tapping the dog. Some are saying perhaps she thought it was really made, perhaps it was really a balloon rather than glass. But it did then knock over and smash everywhere. She did come out and offer to pay for it, but luckily for her, it is covered by insurance, so there is no issues there. But really, I mean, just a bit of a horror story for her, I think.
Yeah, to say the least. Apparently, Jeff Koons has been quite sort of casual about this, probably because it's insured, but also he's got some fantastic publicity today because we're all talking about his dog balloons.
Exactly. And he's also had some of his sculptures before sell for £91 million. So I think, £42,000 isn't really hitting his books too hard.
Yeah, so when one got smashed before, he said, it's a shame when anything like that happens, but, it's just a porcelain plate. It's a very expensive porcelain plate. And there are just some really interesting details in the papers that just make you sort of cringe a little bit. So sort of gallery staff were shooing onlookers away as staff swept up the glass. It just went into a dustpan and brush in the end. That's all that happened.
Yeah, exactly. Quickly hurried away.
Exactly. Lettice, thank you so much for your time. I've really appreciated going through the papers with you this morning on what has been a difficult day in the news agenda. Appreciate your insight.